Hi, so I was looking at the solo on John Mayer's live version of Gravity. It's live in LA. Now I haven't checked other versions of this. I haven't really listened to the original studio version very much either, but I'm not a big John Mayer fan. I don't know why though, because this thing I'm going to talk about is so good, and a lot of the things I've heard of him have been so good, so I don't know why I'm not a big John Mayer fan. Doesn't really make any sense. I'll make another video talking about that perhaps. This thing is just brilliant. What it is, he's playing over two chords. So he's playing over G major to C major. So just G to C. The C's kind of got like a sus4 in there somewhere, I think, occasionally. So it sounds a bit like playing G and then C sus4 to C. It's that sort of thing, but it's basically G to C. So that's very much in the key of G major. So what most people would do is play pentatonic major, perhaps. Pentatonic patterns. And a lot of people might use the actual major scale as well as just the pentatonic, just to get more melodic sound. So like if I'm in this position, that'd be something like, or here you've got, anyway, major scale just gives you a slightly more melodic sound. And one of the extra notes that's in the major scale that's not in the pentatonic major is a note called the seventh, or the major seventh. Right, so what it is, it's an F sharp in this particular key. So it's here. Now what John Mayer does in this solo that's so brilliant, I think, is he bends from this note, which is an E, he bends it to an F sharp, which is that one I played, but it's also there, so you can bend this one. And he comes in on the main part of this solo, or it's sort of like I think it's kind of an outro solo, and he starts it with lots of that bent note. And the reason it's so good is because I think no one else would have thought to do that. Maybe Jeff Beck, but apart from him, can't imagine anyone else doing this. One other person that possibly would do this is Derek Trucks, actually, that I've heard anyway. There might be other people. Let me know in the comments if you think, no, loads of people do this, such as Derek Trucks kind of plays like this. Actually, this solo is quite like Derek Trucks. It's that sort of style. But what it does is bend to this major seventh note, and what nearly everyone else would do would be bend a note up to the root note, which is the G in this key. So either a really big bend from there, like that, or maybe just go to the next fret and bend from there, which is a bit bluesier. He does probably use that elsewhere in the solo, but it's more of a minor kind of sound once you do that. Anyway, I'm rambling on about this. So the major seventh note, that's the bit that sounds really good. So, and he uses a couple of other notes just to begin with, like this one and this one, and they're just in the key, in the scale. They're just normal notes. The other note's in the scale, but it's just not one you'd expect someone to be focusing on. So I've just done a quick demo of what I'm talking about. Now I'm not playing the solo note for note. I'm just using that note in the kind of the way that he's using it, just to show you what I'm going on about. So have a quick look at this. Right, now you might have noticed in there I just use that same bend a lot like John Mayer did, and just to really put the point across of how it sounds against the two chords, especially against the G. It turns the G into a major 7 chord, and it just has a really nice effect, and it's just really unexpected. And if you listen to lots of lead guitar solos like I do, it's not something you're going to hear very often at all, if ever. So it's really good. And you notice in the demo I just did that I also at one point I kind of went outside of it and used a bit of major scale stuff, and I think I might have done a little bit of blues scale as well. That's something I'm going to talk about in another video that he also does really perfectly well. But yeah, the thing I wanted to talk about now is just that major 7 note. That one. It's just such a brilliant note to play over those chords, and more importantly, a note that no one else would think to do. So, you know, it's possibly a bit odd that I'm making a whole video about one note, but I don't think so. I think it's a valid thing to talk about, because people like John Mayer stand out from all the other guitarists, and for some reason, and this is the kind of thing that makes him and certain other players stand out. It's doing these little things, and sometimes it's not that obvious what it is about them that makes their playing stand out, but this is something I really kind of noticed when I heard it. So try it when you're playing. It's got to be in a major key for this to properly work. Although sometimes it might work in the minor, but yeah, go for the major 7th note, but as a bend. The fact it's a bend as well, that's an important thing. It wouldn't have sounded so impressive if you'd have just gone. Not as good as. So I think the bend there really kind of adds to the impact of that note. Yes, that's it really. Just wanted to talk about that. Let me know in the comments if you've got any opinion on that. But I personally think that's a really impressive, slightly interesting thing that he's doing there. And I might make another video about, or looking into why I'm not really a John Mayer fan, because I should be. It doesn't make any sense. Tell me about that in the comments as well if you can. Okay, thanks for watching.